Welcome back to the Filthy Report. My name is Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. The first fight card of 2021, it's a wrap. Let's get to some fight talk. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back again to the Fight Talk, and I just wanted to get out the way a little bit of freaking laundry, and that's always the same old thing. If this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And also, do me a favor, hit that likes button so I can beat this algorithm and get the Filthy Report out there. I would love to get this show out there and produce way more content for everybody out there, but I need your help. So hit that like button, hit that bell so you know when my next episode is dropping. And like always, please let everybody know about me. Share it if you can. Now, let's get to this fight card, which was so freaking amazing. And I have to grade the fight card by saying that it was an A+ with the main card. And the prelim card was a little bit lackluster at the beginning, but it started to play out pretty well. So we'll give them a B-. But like always, let's get to these fights. Let's get to this card. First fight I have to start off with would have to be Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Li Jingliang. And I have to be the first one to admit to you guys, I was completely wrong about this fight. Reason that I was wrong with it was Li Jingliang came in like a man on a mission. Hands were looking smooth. Cardio was looking phenomenal. Looking like he could push a pace and keep the fight going on the whole time. And he didn't need that much time. Only needed the first round and was able to get Ponzinibbio out of there, which is a complete shocker to me because Ponzinibbio is one of those guys you just don't see him having an off night. He's really good, pushes a good pace, always has really good hands, always loves to mix in his takedowns in his wrestling, but just wasn't there, didn't seem to have it a clear step, didn't understand which way he was trying to go and how he was trying to deliver his strikes, and ended up getting caught with the left hook. I would have to chalk it up to being more of the reason of that he hasn't been in the cage for a while. Was kind of seeming like he didn't have the confidence there. And I will also have to admit, it is a really big thing to go over and fight in Abu Dhabi. The flight, the time change, the time you're going up for your fight. It's the weight cut might not be good. You might not even be able to get the correct meals that you're trying to get for your fight. But it is what it is. He ended up losing the fight. Hopefully he can bounce back from this. Now, the next question would be, what are they going to be doing with Li Jingliang? A lot of stuff that could open up with possibilities for him. I do see him traveling back up into that top 10. Can't wait to see for him to get back in there. He's looking like he's ready to go, and he's going to be going and running for that title shot. Now, we all do know that welterweight is kind of like a logjam right now. There's a lot of people in the way. So let's see how it plays out and see where it can go. All right, and moving on from there, we're getting into the co-main event, which was two vets that put on a phenomenal fight, which would be Carlos Condit versus Matt Brown. Now, this is a fight that's been in the making for a few years now and goes back to about 2018. The first two fights that were supposed to happen Brown ended up pulling out because he kept getting injured. But they were able to book the fight and get it ready to go for 2021, which was a great co-main event, especially for being on ABC. A back and forth fight showing you guys that you can't really count out Carlos Condit. Remember, in my breakdown, I was saying that I did like how Matt Brown did have a chance with the way he does his dirty boxing, the way he does his clinching, and his elbows. His elbows are always come off bringing hail and fire straight to anybody and able to put anybody out. But the one thing that I would have to say that made the difference in this fight would have to be Carlos Condit's ground game. He was showing off phenomenal takedown experience. He was showing off his transitions and being able to move. Just basically getting his all-round game back together. Now, which came off as a shock at the end of the fight to find out that this was Carlos Condit's last fight on his fight contract. And we're going to have to see where it goes with that. Now, the other question with this is, where do we go with Matt Brown? With me, I would have to admit, when I was watching Matt Brown in this fight, it kind of looked like he was always kind of like a step behind. It seems like he's sort of falling off, but you never can count him out. He was probably having an off night. And just like I said in the other fight recap that I did, there's always a real love-hate relationship with fighting in Abu Dhabi because you never know what the conditions can be. You never know how the flight's going to go. You never know what time you're going to fight. So anybody could have an off night. It just showed that Condit still has that fire, and he's still able to do this, and he's still able to push a pace that most people wouldn't be able to keep up with. Now, do you see Condit going on for a title run? I don't know, but I do like he's gradually just building up a win streak. And like the great Josh Thompson always says, the best way to get to a title shot is just keep fighting and keep winning. So let's see how it goes from here, and let's see if he can keep that win streak going and get into that top 10 and start really putting the pace on a lot of other people. All right, guys. And with that, we have to get to this main event. And I'm sorry if it feels like I rushed through the recap of those two other fights, but there's so much that happened in this main event that it just needs to be talked about. And the main event I'm talking about would have to be the Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar fight. And first off, I want to give mad shout out and mad props to the New England Cartel and Calvin Kattar. He put on a fight showing how tough he is, his will to continue, just putting his heart out there and showing that he will not break. Now, with all that put aside, I have to say that Max Holloway painted a perfect masterpiece in this fight. From his striking, from his octagon control, from his demeanor of how he carried himself in this fight, and to basically to do a shutout, a pure dominance fight. Guys, his fight cards were 50-42, 50-43, 50-43. In there had to be at least 3 10-8 rounds, which is unfreaking believable because it's a rarity that anything like that happens. Now, it also shows the type of growth that Max has had and the shocking development to find out that Max did not spar for any of this fight. And he literally said that he's working on changing his aspect of how he does his training caps because he's trying to save himself for the fight, not really killing himself and doing continuous sparring and just going hard in his fight camps where you don't make it to the fight 100%. And trust me, there's no fighter out there that's going to make it to a fight 100%. But there are those fighters that come in that might be 60, 70% because they're fighting on an injury, trying to just go off of pure adrenaline. Now, if you guys didn't notice, Max is showing some phenomenal boxing, some phenomenal kickboxing, using those spinning back kicks to the abdomen, and also showing that you don't just headhunt in an MMA fight. You have to mix it up. He was going for the body, going for the head, going for the legs, trying to mix everything in. And if you guys didn't even notice, he didn't even really mix any takedowns. He basically kept Calvin Kattar on the outside of the black ring in the octagon, keeping him against the cage, using some dirty boxing, using elbows to just create pure dominance, and for him to be able to communicate with DC, Dan Hardy, and John Anik while doing this fight. I don't understand how you guys couldn't understand that he is one of the best strikers in the game right now. He threw damn near 760 strikes and landed, I think, almost 630 of them. And he was thinking in his own head that he was only throwing 10 to 15 punches probably around, not even being able to count it off and wondering why he was getting tired. And that's the other thing. He went from bell to bell with the same pace, never letting Calvin Kattar reset and being able to fire off shots. Yes, he did get hit a couple of times, but he took it and kept going with it. Also, to give you guys a little shocking point of how many records he broke, do you guys understand this was his 24th match, and Max has never been knocked down in a fight. He's never been knocked down. He's never been knocked out. He rarely is freaking rocked. And he doesn't even have that real knockout power. He basically pushes a shutout with just volume punches and then finding that closing blow to put you down to the floor. But like I said, Calvin Kattar showing his pure straight toughness and will to fight and spirit to fight did not go down. But he did put on a well fight, and I do believe that sets the standard for this year, for 2021, for fight of the year. Max went in there feeling like he had a chip on his shoulder because everybody seemed to start counting him out, and which I was even shocked about, that people were counting him out because he didn't really lose the fights against Volkanovski. Now, where do you think this should go? Do you think Max should get the next title shot, or do you think Max should have to fight another time? To me, I feel Max should sit back and just wait to see what's going to happen in the next fight, because we all do know that Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega is going to happen, but he should get whoever wins that fight. To me, there's no way that Volkanovski can run from Max. There needs to be something handled. Even Dana White said there's no real way to go around it because the type of performance that Max put out there. But I do like what Max even put out there in his post-press conference, which he was talking about that he's willing to fight anybody, basically anybody in the 155 division or the 145. I do know that Dana said that he doesn't think that Max should move up to 155 because Max doesn't sit at a 155 kind of frame, meaning that he's not carrying the muscle mass to move up there. Now, if we gave Max like a year and a half off, be able to gain the weight, put on the right muscle mass, and be ready to go in 155, that'd be great. But I don't see him bouncing back down to 145. It's really hard to cut between those weight classes because Max does walk around, I want to say about 185, 190. So to do those type of cuts continuously back and forth would probably just put a real big strain on his body. But I want to say this. Do not overlook Max. Nobody needs to. Max is a king in the 145 division. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I really would like to get that third fight against Volkanovski. And also, who wouldn't want to see a Max Holloway, Brian Ortega 2 with the kind of fight that Brian Ortega just brought to Korean Zombie? I could only imagine that it would be a phenomenal fight. Now, would I go and lean with Max in that fight? I would probably lean with Max in that fight, but I wouldn't lean heavily on Max because the thing about it is, with the way that Brian's fighting now, that just looks like a pick'em fight with that. So I have to say, mad props to Max, mad props to Calvin Kattar. I can't wait to see where this goes. I can't wait to see how the featherweight division ends up in 2021. And it continues on. The blessed era, the blessed train is still fighting on. And just make sure you guys are staying, keeping your eyes glued to the screen whenever Max is coming up, because you never know what kind of masterpiece he's going to paint again. And every single time it seems that Max steps in that cage, he just improves. And Max is still only 29. He still has a couple of more years. I don't think he'll probably be fighting past 33 or 34. He has a lot of other opportunities out there, but I would like to see him capture that belt one more time. All right, guys, now let's get to this breakdown, which is going to be UFC Fight Night, Michael Chiesa versus Neil Magny on January 20th on Wednesday night. Oh, my God. Ain't nothing better than having some middle-of-the-week fights. Something to do, something to watch. I got some fights to watch on Wednesday night, and it's going to be great. And I'm not going over the full card, but I will be going over a few of the fights. And the first fight I'm going to be going over has to be the top of the prelims, which is going to be Amir Akhmedov versus Tom Breeze. This is going to be in the middleweight division. And guys, trust me when I say this. A lot of people for a while were sleeping on Tom Breeze. And the reason of that was he was going under the radar, really good fighter out of London, going under the radar, was fighting at welterweight, seemed to always have like a hit and miss. One fight goes good, next fight doesn't go too good. And it was more along the lines that he was killing himself with the weight cut. So last year he moved into the middleweight division and he looks like he is ready to go, putting on a phenomenal fight in his last fight. And now he's going up against Amir Akhmedov, which is going to be a great fight. The way I see this fight playing out is that Tom Breeze is going to do his usual thing, using his striking. He's a really good kickboxer, likes to sit on the outside, devastates your legs with some low leg kicks, and then comes in with some really crisp boxing, and he's usually always looking for a head kick to knock you out. And don't take it as he's not a slouch on the ground. He doesn't have the greatest takedowns, but he does have really good top game experience. and he is able to hold you down there and get you and keep you on the floor and put on some good ground and pound. Now, the problem that I see here is Amir Magomedov is a phenomenal grappler, has some sambo grappling background, and he is able to really push a pace, and cardio doesn't seem to ever really slow down for him. He's always liking to make it a tough, gritty fight. So it's a really good matchup, going like the usual thing of a striker versus grappler. Let's see how the match plays out. I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's going to be one that you don't want to miss. And just to give you guys a little idea, this is one of those sneaky cards. There's a couple of people sprinkled in here that can make it a real phenomenal card. And also, there's a couple of fights in here that are just basically fights to move throughout the division and kind of get through the cuts that they need to make for this year. So let's see how it plays out. All right. In the next fight I'm moving into is going to be the co-main event, which is going to be Wally Alvarez versus Munir Lazeez. And this is a kind of a shocker to see that Munir is going to be in the co-main event, being that this is his only second fight in the UFC, but he seems to have a really good team behind him. He really grinds out and he's able to handle, has really good striking. Wrestling is very, very good. Always likes to get into top control, can sweep you from the bottom, but he's going up against a Brazilian devastator who is Wally Alvarez. Wally Alvarez has some really good jiu-jitsu, is no slouch, can fight off his back, can fight off the top game, and he has really heavy hands. The way I see this fight playing out, I think Alvarez is going to come in and try to push the pace, try to get Lazeez on his back foot to try to get him out of there and put him out with them heavy hands. If he can't put him out with some heavy hands, I see him trying to choke him out really quick. But it could end up being a long night for Alvarez, because I see just Lazeez being able to pick him off with a lot of good kicking, using his kick game in this fight. So let's see how it works out. Who am I picking in the fight? It's kind of hard for me to go against Wally Alvarez. He always likes to show up and put on a really decent fight. But I will have to say I am kind of leaning toward Lazeez in this fight, because he's carrying basically the Middle East on his back, and he's not going to basically put on any kind of slow-paced kind of fight. He's going to come out of there like a freaking rocket, and I can't wait to see how that fight plays out. Of course, there's only one other fight to talk about, and that's going to be the main event, which is going to be Makhachev versus Magny. And how do I see this fight playing out? To be honest with you guys, I see this being a really big fight for Makhachev. And the reason of that is, one, I'm kind of a biased kind of person. I live out here in Washington now, and I'm out here in Yakima, Washington. And Kesna is only about 3 hours away from me out in Spokane. Really phenomenal guy. Really old school style, old school kind of heart. Maverick is no joke. He is a phenomenal jiu-jitsu player. Basically lives out in the country in a cabin, is just about fighting and just about grinding, and he has a phenomenal fight IQ. You guys have to have seen him probably sitting on the desk doing some work for the UFC, and he calls really good fights, and he always is somebody that you would want to pick his brain about basically the fighting styles of different people. And I think the best choice he's ever made was moving up into the welterweight division. He was killing himself at lightweight. Finally made the choice about, I think, 2 years ago to move up to welterweight. Made his debut last year, and really did well. Put on a really good fight. Also I think he fought Diego Sanchez, and was able to get Diego Sanchez out of there quickly. Now, the way I see this fight playing out is it's going to be a very long night for Magny. And don't get me wrong, Magny is a phenomenal fighter. Cardio is always great, always well-rounded. But the one kryptonite for Magny, like always, is that he does not do well with jiu-jitsu fighters. And the style of fighting that Kesna does, he is a phenomenal fighter that is always able to take you down. And he'll get you down with a trip. He'll get you down with some double legs. He'll get you down with just a regular sweep off the cage or off of a judo sweep. He will find any way to get you down. And if he gets on your back or is in top control, he is a mess to handle, because he has very, very quick transitions and has very unorthodox submissions where he's able to get out of there and get you out of there very quickly. The way I see it playing out, if Magny gets taken down in the first round, I see Chiesa submitting him. Now, as the rounds continue on, it will be some questions that will need to be answered to see, is Chiesa going to be able to handle the whole 5-round main event? Is his cardio going to die out? Is he going to be able to really put on a pace on the floor, on the ground with Neil Magny, and being able to keep that cardio up while doing all the transitions and trying to put on so many different submissions and just chasing after that submission. Now, don't get me wrong when I say all this, because Chiesa does have really good hands, but his ground game is his bread and butter. Now, with Neil Magny, he's just going to have to put on a pace and put volume, but he's going to have to be not scared to move forward and get in close on Chiesa. But he's going to have to watch his kicks, because Chiesa will be able to catch those kicks and take them to the floor. Now, who am I picking in the fight? Like I said, I'm kind of a little bit biased. Got to go with the Maverick. Michael Chiesa is going to be the one I'm going with. And to see how that plays out, I wouldn't mind seeing, since we saw Li Ling win, I wouldn't mind seeing a Li Ling versus Chiesa fight. Or we could also get a rematch between Li Ling and Neil Magny, just to see if he can get up in there in that top 10. And with that, guys, that's pretty much all I got. I'm going to move on to some fight news. All right, guys, I have a little bit of fight news for you guys this week. And the biggest fight news has to be basically what everybody's talking about, is the meeting that went on between Khabib and Dana. And from what Dana walked out and said in the press conference, and basically what he said on the ABC broadcast, is that the result that he got from Khabib is this. He's going to wait to see how it plays out this week, basically with these weekend fights. We got Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2. We also have Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. And in the wings, we have Charles Oliveira, who could possibly be going up against Justin Gaethje for the next fight. But what Khabib is looking for here is for somebody to shock him. Somebody that will make him want to come back and fight them. Give him something that's going to mesmerize him to bring him back. And I understand a lot of people are like, well, that's some bullshit. But the thing about it is this. Khabib already said that he's not going to hold up the division. If nobody really entices him to come back to fight, then he's going to give up the belt. And they're probably going to go about a different demeanor, which whoever wins in this basically 4-man tournament this weekend will probably fight for the belt. And I guess Charles Oliveira will probably get the next match after that. Or we will probably see the Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira fight, and whoever wins that fight will get the next shot at the title. Now, leaves a couple of questions here. So if McGregor puts on a phenomenal fight, who gets the matchup with Khabib? We won't know. We'll talk about that a little bit more as I do the breakdown for the McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2, which will be coming up soon, guys, because like I said, this Wednesday night fight, it's keeping us at a pace, and we're just going to keep on moving. So with that, can't wait to see how those fights play out. And the next thing I got to talk about is a couple of fight announcements, and they are so huge in fight announcements. Now, if you guys didn't hear on the ABC broadcast, or if you guys didn't hear in the post-press conference, UFC 260 has been booked, and it will be on, I think, March 26th, which is going to be Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou 2, and the co-main event that everybody's just foaming at the mouth for, which will be Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. I can't wait for these two matchups. It's a really good move on for the heavyweight division and also featherweight division, because then we're not sitting and waiting in the wings to see what's going to happen with Max. Can't wait to see how that fight plays out against Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. And also, it lets us know when we're going to see John Jones for the heavyweight division, because with Ngannou and Miocic going at it for the belt, who knows? Will John Jones get the next title shot, or are they going to have John Jones sit back and take another fight and basically warm up to getting into the heavyweight division? As we get closer to those fights, we'll talk about that a little bit more. All right, guys, and before I go, I have a few questions that I want to ask you guys. With all that going on in March for the beginning of the year of 2021. What fights are you more excited about? Are you guys still excited for the Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2? Are you guys excited for the February card, which will be Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns? And also that there's been talks about the co-main event being Jorge Masvidal versus Kobe Covington. Or are you guys excited for the first fight card of March, which is going to be Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz, with also Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, with also Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson? Or are you guys excited for the end of March card, which is going to be Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou 2, and also Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega? Let me know. Hit me up in my comments. IG, Twitter, YouTube, even, hey guys, I'm on TikTok too. Just hit me up and let me know. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Which fights are you guys excited? And what do you guys think is going to play out for the rest of 2021? I can't wait to see how it plays out, and I can't wait to see what goes on with the middleweight division. But before I go, like always, please, if this is your first time, hit that subscribe button and do me a favor and hit that like button so we can beat this algorithm and get the filter report out there. I love getting the fight talk out there. And also, I'm always doing my other show, which is going to be Let's Get Geeked Up. And that goes over manga, anime, comic books, movies, TV shows, you name it. If it's about geek, it's there. And I will be putting it out always for you guys. And like always, if nobody loves you, I love you. I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Peace.